What is going on, guys? DragonTamerBlayde here, back from our Elder Scrolls Legends, and I feel like I almost just had a stroke when I was starting that video off, but whew! We're back with some more Frostspark card reveals. I'm exhausted. I got no sleep last night. There's people in the hotel room next to us just going bonkers, so excuse me being shot, but we got some cards to talk about. First one we're going to talk about has revealed on the Fun and Interactive podcast by Charmer and Justin. It's a 2-cost action. Here it is right here. It's called Harmony. It has Prophecy, so 2-cost willpower action. Prophecy, give all enemy creatures -2/-0 until the start of your turn. This card's a little bit interesting because it's a prophecy that's probably better on your turn, but still has the potential to be a okay prophecy. The only time this is really great is if your opponent has like a huge swing of damage coming your way. You can take up to 16 damage off the board with this card, or I guess less than that because I'd have to crack the rune first, so probably up to 14 damage off the board. So that can be okay. I think it's going to be better on your turn. Let's say you're in like a mid-range versus mid-range battle. You can reduce all of your opponent's cards' attacks by 2, and kind of try and enable some more favorable trades that way. Let's take a look at some cards that this synergizes with. There's some obvious ones. You know, Calm is a more focused version of that. But you got Execute Synergy. Giving everything -2 to enable an Execute's a little bit excessive, but maybe it enables you to kill that one really important creature. On top of that, I guess the dream would be Arrow Storming a lane or 2. But that would be only if your opponent has a lane full of creatures with 4 power or less. You can reduce them all by 2 and then enable your Arrow Storm. And then obviously, also, this guy never sees play though. Where is he? Where is this guy? There you go, the Spiteful Dremora. This is Execute on a body. This guy sees no play, but you know, it's also some more just synergy with this card. It's not that great. This card I'm probably the lowest on of all of the cards that have been revealed so far. Obviously, there are some really fun plays. Also, you can use it to enable a Mechanar's Will. It's not as common. It's going to be actually pretty hard to do or get use out of, but it's a card that cares about power, so obviously we're going to mention that. Other than that, I'm going to be honest with you guys. There's not a ton of synergy with this card already. This card's best bet is going to be to enable some better trades. If you and your opponent both have a board and you're kind of going back and forth, kind of the way mid-range decks that are transitioning from early game into the mid-game, also Grizzly Gourmet as well, but as mid-range decks in Mirrors are kind of transitioning from the early game into the mid-game, and you start hitting those 3-4 power creatures, I guess Harmony is going to be at its best in that specific moment, if not just as a method of occasionally keeping you alive. So I don't really love the card. I guess there's also some slight synergy with Shearpoint Dragon. This would reduce the entire lane by -3/-0. It's a thing. I don't think it's going to be a good thing, but it's there. Honestly, I don't have a lot to say about this card. I think this card is just eh. It could potentially be a decent arena card. In-game, you're probably not going to see it very much at all. Occasionally, you'll get blown out by this plus an Arrow Storm, and it's going to feel really crappy. But in general, I don't think this card's that good, and I don't expect to really see it that much. And then we have another card that was just recently revealed, probably a couple hours ago, in the TwitchCon stream. CVH was there, Sean was there, I believe LMAO was there, Eolus was there. We've got, here it is, Deathhound, 5-cost 6/6 with Guard. It is a beast and a skeleton, I believe they said on the stream. It's got Guard, and Deathhound's power is always equal to its health. So that is a built-in Ring of Imaginary Might. This card has me intrigued. It's the kind of card I think something like a mid-sorcerer will consider running over Whiterun Protector, since you don't have to crack the rune for Deathhound to have the same stats. Obviously, this has a different drawback. Whiterun Protector requires the Rune Break. This card gets weaker as the health drops, so both cards will depend to be tested. I think I like Deathhound better most of the time, but that's also a meta-dependent situation. I'm excited to mess around with this card for a couple reasons. Skeleton Synergy means that Skeleton Champion becomes even better. Where is this guy? So you can give your +1/+1 Deathhound. Bone Daddy as well will give that a +1/+1. Wherever Bone Daddy is. I think I passed him already. Bone Daddy will enable it. This does also lend into Wild Beast Caller. What other things can we do here? We've got the ability for Wild Beast Caller to summon this. We've got Spriggan should buff this card. Elder Gleam Matron can give it to you. It triggers Guar Stable Master. Not that Animal Scout has necessarily been a thing. I've always liked Monk better. But we could potentially start looking into some Animal Scout shenanigans. Wild Beast Caller can summon it, and it gets buffed by Shadow Green Elder. So you've got both Skeleton and Animal Synergy, which is pretty cool. But the biggest thing that I'm excited to do is, you guys saw that Charge Scout deck, the OTK, with Ring of Imaginary Might, where we're mostly just pulling Maple Shields and Imperial Armors. Those cards become amazing with this card. So Imperial Armor is a 3-cost +6/+6 to Deathhound. Maple Shield's a 0-cost +3/+3, so obviously both of those are really good. Any kind of item is going to be great, but even something like Enchanted Plate, it becomes Cycle, so it's always was decent, but now Deathhound, it gets +3/+3 from it. So +3/+3 and draw a card for 2 is already really, really good. So I think we're getting closer to a Ring of Imaginary Might deck being, I guess, consistent enough, since Deathhound now doesn't need it. So now you got your 3 Ring of Imaginary Mights you can play, and then 3 Deathhounds, all that care about your health boosting items. So that's decent. Bruma Armorer could be something that gets considered, because now this comes down as a 5-cost 8/8. But in addition, there's just heals that you may like. So Healing Hands would bring Deathhound's health, or attack more importantly, back up once his health drops. There's that Black Rose Herbalist, I think it's called. I don't even know if I have that card. Let me turn on Soul Sight. Yeah, there we go. Black Rose Herbalist can continuously heal Deathhound back up. I think this card is solid. I don't think it's going to be a spectacular card, and it may be one of those cards that gets sampled a whole lot, but ultimately it doesn't get run in a lot of decks. But I think it's going to be an interesting enough card that can be tested out in a lot of decks. And ultimately, it also is going to enable a lot of fun combos. You could also silence this card if you want to get its health back up, or its attack back up after the health drops. That may occasionally be relevant if Self-Silence Scout or Warlock or Sorcerer become more popular. I know people have messed around with it, but I think it needs a little bit more before it becomes more common, but it's at least something to consider with this card. And in things like a mid-spell sword, you have Cleric of Kind that can give this card +2/+2. I think there's a couple other health boosters. There's like the Somerset Shield Mage or something like that it's called. Or Sunhold Medic does that, +2. There's a lot of decent cards that can buff some health. I don't know if it's going to always be super relevant. Here we go. This gives +1 to be +1/+1 for Deathhound. I don't think it's always going to be super relevant, but it's at least there. As well as it's another card that you can kill with Dawnbreaker. So Dawnbreaker gets even cooler. Also worth mentioning as well for anyone who may be interested in playing the card. Is there anything else that is related to buffing health? Don't really think so off the top of my head. I'm sure there's some stuff that I'm missing, but Imperial Armor, Enchanted Plate, and Maple Shield are the 3 biggest ones that I'm interested in trying out with this card. Like I said, the silence synergies are there. It's got synergy with both animal decks and skeleton decks. So at the very least, it should see a lot of play in meme decks, which obviously makes me excited to try this card out because it fits into a lot of my favorite meme decks. I love animals, I love skeletons, I love Ring of Imaginary Might. This card probably fits out pretty well in Fat Warrior as well. So I'm excited to try this card out. I think this card's decent. I think Harmony is meh. to probably meh to bad range. But more cards are never a bad thing. But that's going to be it for me, guys. Let me know what you guys think of the cards down below in the comment section and how you're planning on using them. As always, thank you guys all very, very much for watching. I'm DragonTamerBlayde, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.